Hey guys, welcome to my channel. It's Sibua. Today I'm in front of the camera. You know, normally I'm just like behind the camera, but today I decided to come in front of you because I want to talk to you about the H2, which we got like when? Like last year around Feb. I can't count the months right now, but yeah, it's been around for quite some time and we've done like 23,000 kilometers on it. So I want to give you a progress report on it as to how far am I, because I've been getting quite a number of questions actually, because a lot of people have been asking me, how's your Haval, how's it holding up, fuel consumption, how was the service, how are the brakes, because this video is coming at the back of the first video that I've made already. In fact, I've made 3 videos on this car. I've like made drivability, I've walked around the car on the features. I think the features, actually I covered almost everything that I could cover at the time. It was just here and here that I couldn't cover. So this video is just a continuation of those basically. So this is like a progress report for the 20,000 kilometers. So let's just go in and then we talk about the experience and all those things. So I'll be driving throughout the video. You know, I like being behind the camera actually. So I'll be driving and then I will just be talking and then indicating to you what is my experience with it, like relating to the service that I'm getting from Haval itself. And then, yeah, we'll just talk about it. Actually, it's just going to be a drive of me talking as if I'm in a conversation with you. I hope then we will just engage in the comments on everything else that you need to know, maybe that I missed, because when you're shooting, sometimes, you know, you might miss some of the things. So without further ado, then let's just hit it. Okay, before we hit the road, let me just do a quick run around of the car so that you can see the exterior and if there's anything that is out. So looking at the lights now, you know, with the lights, not normally, but sometimes you find that there is like foggy stuff that is like in the lights. I don't know if it's because of the rain or what would have happened to the light cluster in that instance. Luckily, we haven't been experiencing that with this car. And overall, remember, I'm not doing a review of how the car looks and all those things. I've already done that, the features and so on. It's just me like showing you around based on the experience if there's anything that is fallen off. So the plastics around the car, the lights and everything exterior wise, everything is still holding up intact. I can't complain about anything on the outside actually. So you can see even now the back lights, everything is still as it should be really. I can't really complain much. And then even if you look at like on top of the car and so on, everything, the sunroof, everything around it, it's still holding up quite well. I can't complain about anything on the exterior really. Even when it comes to the like scratches and so on, luckily we found ourselves we didn't get like a lot of scratches on the car. If there's any, maybe it happened to the parking that we didn't pick up and so on. So otherwise there is nothing much to report on the exterior. Like I said, this video is going to be based on the actual experience, the things that I probably don't like or the things that are worrying me about it. But at the exterior kind of a thing, there is nothing much to report. I understand though that this video is going to be like a bit long, so just use the timestamp so that you can be able to navigate. And then, okay, yeah, on the windscreen here, we have a scratch, not a scratch, we have a crack, because the other time we were traveling in the back roads here and then a rock came from a truck and then it hit the windscreen and then it was a chip, but it was not fixable and then it started cracking and so on. So in the interior here as well, there is really nothing much to actually report on because nothing really fell off. Like you'll see, I'll probably even indicate more as we are driving and so on. You can just see that we don't have the leather seats and all those things. Everything is still sitting as it should be, I believe. There is just one thing, like you see there's a button, the mode button by the gear lever there. If you are not necessarily aware, because sometimes if people are putting coffee in the cup holders there, it might be a problem if your coffee spills on the buttons. And I had people complaining that it's hard and so on. Just be aware that the sugar might cause that if it spills. Here at the back, it's also like there's really nothing much to report. Regardless of us traveling with a child, everything else seems to be like still intact. I can't really say there's anything to report on there. And then now let's just go to the back, because here I have stuff that I can talk about, because this boot space, it's just not enough. It's really not enough. I think it's less than 300 liters, and just be aware of that. It makes up this kind of shortage with the cabin space, because in there you can still put bags, unless if you're traveling then with a lot of people, because that might be a problem. But overall, it's just not enough. Luckily for us, we don't usually travel with a lot of people, so it helps to put the bags inside the car as well. So yeah, I think now we can hit the road. There's one thing about this door is that you need to make sure that you're banging it, which is something that I'm going to be talking to you about. Okay, let's get on the road now, and then I will then be talking to you. As I said, I'm just going to be talking as if we're chilling together, but I don't know how that's going to go, because you're not going to be responding right now. But you're going to be talking to me in the comments, I hope, on everything that you need to know, and I'll be able to answer. So yeah, let's just be on our way, and then I'll be talking about my experience with the car. Like over the past, 1 year, 7 months or so. So it's almost 2 years. So like I said, this is like 23,000 kilometers. In fact, on the description I said 20. I just wanted to make the description to look like even, basically. I didn't want to use the odd numbers. So yeah, okay, let's get on to that. And yeah, okay. Where should I start anyway? Because this is going to be a long talk. Thinking, okay, the moment you get into the car, the first thing that you're going to be noticing is that doors. You know, these doors are hard to close, are very, very hard to close actually. When you're trying to close it, you need to bang it as hard as possible. Luckily for Haval, in this case, the materials that they put here is quite solid and is quite soft and so on. So it's easy for them actually. It's easy for the car to hold up regardless of you banging it. Oh, this M5 is nice. Okay. Okay, so like I said, when we're talking about the doors, that is one thing that might bother you, but it's not necessarily a deal breaker. Coming into the car, over the past year or so that I spoke about, it's been holding up quite fine. The buttons and everything, everything still feels solid. I can't complain that things are starting to be shaky and so on. If you remember very well, I spoke about the plastics and so on in the beginning. As I said, this is like a fourth video that I'm making on this car, because I've been making like a number of videos on this car where I explained everything, the details, how it looks, everything I can think about. I covered as much detail as possible. I'll leave those videos in the description below for you to be able then to go and check the features and everything else. So yeah, when it comes to this, this car, I think it's very solid. Everything, when I'm touching the armrest, is still very much solid. The center console as well. The plastics that I spoke about, actually, it's because this center console it has plastics, it's covered in plastic, of course. So when you're trying to shake it like this, it makes this squeaky sound a bit. But I came to realize that actually if you use a lot of plastic in the car, that's going to be the case, because it has hard materials down here, which is affecting that. But overall, it's still holding on quite tightly. I can't complain about it. So another thing then is this screen of theirs there. Okay, another thing is this screen right here. It's an LCD screen. And for me, with a laptop, you get a lot of laptops with LCD screens, of course. It's okay because you're probably going to use it indoors most of the time and so on. And with the car, you're going to be driving it. And one problem I have with it is that once you are on, what is this? Sometimes I forgot to look at the camera because I'm used to driving, and then I'm just always just looking at the road while talking. So one thing though that is just a bit of an issue with it is that once you open the sunroof, and the sun is streaming in. Even if you don't necessarily, you're not necessarily opening the sunroof and so on, but the sun is streaming in, you're not gonna see anything on the screen. Basically, it's just gonna be dead to you. It's like you're just gonna guess what is it that you need to press here. So that's another thing that I think I don't particularly like it that much. And then the sound system. I spoke about the sound system actually when I did the first reviews. I did say that this sound system for me, it doesn't crack it, and it's still the very same thing that I'm experiencing. You know, this car, when you know, a quality sound system is such that whenever you're driving and you're increasing your speed, it needs to then at least cover you based on the road noise and everything that is coming from outside. And that is something that I'm not experiencing here. Yes, the sound system can increase the volume going up and so on, but I still don't feel it, man. Maybe it's because of the 4 speakers that they put in here, because it doesn't have 6 speakers. That's one thing for me that is a letdown actually, because I love a good sound system and it doesn't cut it for me in here. Yeah, man, yeah, it doesn't cut it. Let me put it like that. I don't really like the sound system in here. A lot of people might be okay with it though, because I'm very fuzzy when it comes to the sound system. Coming up here, this is another area, of course, that I complained about, which is the lights. Well, the lights in this car, like the cabin lights, not necessarily the ones outside. I'm still going to talk about the actual headlights and so on, but the cabin lights, man, it's just not enough. I don't know what were they thinking. Maybe when they were installing the sunroof, they thought, okay, fine, we can cut the rear cabin light. It just, like, I'll show you, but it doesn't cut it. Like at night, you need to bring your own torch, like either your cell phone or whatever, so that you can be able to see at the back. And we always have our son playing in here, leaving some toys that we're going to be looking for at night. It just doesn't cut it. Like, who thought of that? Like, why did you put an illuminating light at the back? But it's fine, it is what it is. I can't get used to that, by the way, because sometimes at night I just get frustrated and so on, but it's one of those things that you learn to live with. I don't know if it's a deal breaker for anyone, but it's okay for me. And now coming to this instrument cluster, by the way, this instrument cluster doesn't show the speed, like digital speed. That is one thing that for me it's a bit off and off, but it's okay because the whole cluster here is illuminating quite brightly, and it's okay. As much as it's analog, it's not digital, but it's okay. A lot of people still love that, and yeah, it's okay. Then when I'm talking about the stuff that it offers in here, one thing that bothers me a lot is the tire pressure. Sometimes I feel like this thing of the tire pressure sensor is actually just, it's misbehaving sometimes. I don't know, but it's mostly in winter, and I realize that in winter sometimes the tires, I think the way the tire pressure system is reading the pressure and so on, it's totally different to when it's in summertime and so on. Mostly in winter, it's quite bad. It's quite bad the way it's happening, because sometimes the 3 tires are reading that it's like low, but you see the same pressure on the screen and so on. So that's one thing you need to be aware of. Another thing that is bothering me so much is the key. The key. I don't know what's happening. Sometimes it gives like is it a warning, whatever sign here to say the battery key low or something, and I'm like, oh, it's just been like less than 2 years. I've been using my Ford Fiesta for like 7 years or so, and I never changed the keys, and it's still working to this day. But with this one, you get like a warning that the battery key is low, and I'm thinking to myself, maybe it's because this guy, what is he doing? Okay, taxi. All right. I'm thinking maybe it's because, when it comes to this key, it's quite heavy. It's quite heavy. So maybe the tech that is having to do with the keyless entry and everything else surrounding the key, maybe it's too heavy, and then it has to, okay, we need to go now. Maybe it's too heavy, and then when you're doing that, then maybe that's why the battery is just getting low and so on. I don't know what's wrong with that. And what else bothered me? Should I talk about only the stuff that bothered me? I don't know, but I need to think now if there's anything that bothered me. I don't think there was anything else that bothered me. Everything else is still working properly. I can't complain much about the car itself. But let's get to the drivability now. By the way, again, I covered full detail on the drivability of this car. It was a 7 months review, I think, at the time. Now you can see that I'm already on a year or so, and during that time I was kind of okay with it, of course. And now the stuff that I complained about, I still can't get used to some of them. For example, when you're driving in town, I think this blind spot still kills me. Like, it still kills me. I can't get used to it that much. I always have to lean forward to see if I'm not like getting on anything. If there's a cone down there or the cab is just by the wheels, I need to be sure that I'm turning at the right space. So that's another thing that might be a challenge for you, because this mirror is quite big. And again, for someone that might be a good thing, because when the mirror is as big as it is, you can clearly see when you're changing lanes and so on. As much as it doesn't have the blind spot monitoring, you can clearly see when you're changing lanes and so on the highway. But then one thing that I think I need to get to, okay, let me get to this one first. The car itself on the highway. Let me get to the highway, because now in town, there's nothing much really. The maneuverability, the steering wheel, the way it moves, it doesn't really feel like a big car when you're driving. It just feels like a car, like a normal car that you can get anyway. So it's easy to drive and live with. That's the thing about it. But when you're on the highway now, that's where you're really gonna feel that this table leg then is real. Because whenever there's a car coming, like now there's this polo right behind me. If I really want to overtake now and I'm so close to this cab in front of me, I really have to time it and think that if I put my foot down like this, 1, 2, 3, it's still, well, you see, the kick is only happening now. It's only happening now. And it's not that all the time you're going to get it right. Until then, you get used to the car. Once you get used to the car though, it's quite easy to actually know, okay, I need to kick it first, and then I know that like within 2-3 seconds, then it's gonna kick in. Then I change the lane, I'm gone. That's the thing that you really need to be aware of. Otherwise, in terms of comfort, I didn't change my mind. This is one of the most comfortable cars you can drive. The seats, actually, they are very comfortable. Even on the long journey and so on, you're not gonna be bored. Like, okay, not bored because I spoke about the sound system, but you're not gonna feel like, I need to do, like, I'm tired or whatever. The seats are nice. You sit in a good position because you have a clear view outside. In terms of in front of you, you can almost see where the car like is ending, and my seat is at the lowest at the moment. So I don't find myself having to struggle to see what's happening around me. It's just, like I said, the blind spot in like driving, when you're driving in the urban areas and so on. But otherwise on the highway, I don't find myself having to struggle with anything at all. But the table leg, man, you really need to be aware. And I have to say, when it comes to the engine itself, I spoke about this before as well on the drivability. It's not a performance vehicle by any means, but it's okay. It can perform, but it's not as refined. I've driven 1.6s and 1.4s and so on that are way more refined than this engine. I think that's the thing that I experienced when I was in the Jolion. Actually, the Jolion felt a bit more refined compared to this car. And I guess that's a good improvement, because then now, when it comes to someone saying they're giving you a better product to improve from the last one, well, you're expecting a better one, right? So I guess that's a good thing for Haval. But yeah, you can get used to it. It's not bad, because you're not buying it to get a performance vehicle anyway. If you're looking for comfort, you know that you're getting it for that. But performance wise, it's not the best thing you can get out there, especially then when you're on the highway. You know, you can easily be abused there. Let me tell you, you can easily be abused, especially when it comes to these guys who are driving like your Everest Foot Rangers and the likes. You know, those guys with Hiluxes and so on. They like to show you that I can push you. Sometimes you can push them, you know, and you can really push them, honestly, but not all the time. You can feel it on the highway that there's a bit of a shortage. There's a bit of a shortage. Then when it comes to the transmission as well, it's just something that when you are trying to flow it, it's going to make noise until you get to a point where you're going to settle down. You know, it makes noise. The engine is making noise. But when you settle down, no matter what speed you are at, that's the thing that is so impressive about this car. Like right now, I'm doing 110, it's just cruising. I don't like hear like funny noises or whatever. Road noise is minimal, wind noise is minimal as well. So that's the thing that I applaud them for, because they insulated this car so well that like it's not easy for you not to pick it, especially if you drive it on the highway. It's so comfortable. Like the comfort in this car, it's something that I haven't changed my mind on in the last whatever months, 16, what did I say? 18 months or whatever I said. Yes. So I haven't changed my mind with that really. So that's the thing that I think the insulation level in this car is so good, and that is something that is shocking me as well, because I expect that the sound system will be way better because the insulation level is fine. But for me, as I said, the sound system for me, I'm too critical of that, and I might be unfair on it because I'm very critical of it. But otherwise, comfort-wise, insulation level, it's one of the best you can find, especially at this price range. I mean, this car, we got it for like what, 330? Yeah, 330 at the time. So that's why I'm saying, regardless of it having the sunroof and so on, the insulation level is still great. Road noise, engine noise, once it's settled down, is fine. It's just droning when you try to change. Let me go to the fast lane now. You see? Can you hear it now? Can you hear it now? Like, you can hear that it's working hard. But once you settle down, it's okay. There's no noise whatsoever. Engine noise, road noise, wind noise, it's so minimal. I think it's because the way they design these mirrors as well, it's helping so that it doesn't come through the cabin as much. But one thing that is shocking me though, is when maybe you're in town, or right now as I'm passing this truck, actually I should have just, you know, been close to it so that you can hear what I wanted to talk about. One thing about it is that it's funny, it's so well insulated, and you don't get a lot of road noise and so on, wind noise. But when other cars are passing, and especially when you are like in town, or maybe you're driving next to a truck or whatever, you'll feel like I didn't close, like especially the rear windows. Maybe it's because my ear is just so close to this window right here that I'm like, what's happening now? Why is this sound coming in so clearly? I don't know why. But another thing is, I can feel when the window is touching all the way up, that it doesn't feel like it's getting inside the rubber. It's like it's kicking in a way that I feel like it's not necessarily hitting a rubber inside. Maybe that's why. Because they managed to save it from everything else, noises. But when it comes to, I don't know what happened there. This traffic light gets me all the time. Okay, I'm out. I am safe. I am safe. Okay, back to that. So like I said, when it comes to the insulation, it's fine until then you are in traffic and there's a car next to you here. I don't know if I can get like into traffic where there's a car next to me so that I can make you understand what I'm trying to say. But yeah, it's fine. I'm not finding it, but I'm sure you understand where I'm coming from. I hope you do though. I hope you do. So you can hear now I'm on a bumpy road and so on. It's handling these bumps so well, man. I can't complain about that, because whenever I'm driving this car, I don't get a sense that I'm in a cheap car, because whenever I'm hitting the ground, like the should I say it? The surface, hey, English, whenever it's hitting the surface and it's a bumpy road and so on, you don't necessarily feel like, you know, I'm in a cheap car. You feel like, yeah, no, it's because it's thudding, unlike crashing, you know. It doesn't feel like that even when you are hitting that. You see, I just hit one now, and it doesn't feel as worse. Then what can I talk about more? I think I need to talk about the running costs of this car. Well, when it comes to the running costs, it's gonna depend, because let me talk the fuel consumption first, because that's one thing that I know that people, they love so much when it comes to the H2, or not necessarily H2 per se, but all Havals, they are interested in the fuel consumption and so on. So normally, if it's me who's driving, we average around 7.8. It's nice to see that and right now I'm averaging 7.7. But when it's my wife in the car, she's doing like 7.5 or so. I don't know how she does that. But yeah, maybe it's the way that she's driving and so on. We hardly get 8 liters to 100, at least on the machine here, because these things, you know, sometimes you can't really say you can trust them. Yeah, you can't really say you can trust them. So we hardly get like 8 liters. But when it comes to what is this, the driving on the highway and so on, there was a time where I drove between like 100 and 120 throughout, and we did like close to 700 kilometers. It was so boring, but the experiment was worth it, because I needed to see how this car can handle like a long distance when you're not like doing some spirited driving in it. So when you're doing that, you can really get like 720, 730 kilometers there. So it's not that bad on a 55 liter tank, and this car is quite big, of course. Then when it comes to the insurance, currently I can't really say only when it's one car this is how much it's going to be, because I'm paying for like 3 cars on one insurance policy. So that is like what? This car is costing around 1.5, and I think that's a good thing, because the risk profile that was used is mine, it's not my wife's. Apparently I'm more risky compared to my wife, even if I never had an accident or claim or whatever. But I don't know how do they determine that. We're paying like around 1.5, I think, with some change, 1,570, or I don't remember exactly how much, but it's around that much. That's how much we are paying for the insurance. And then when it comes to the service plan, of course, it comes with a 5-year service plan. And currently you're not paying anything. Just take it in, of course. And then voila, you get your stuff. But after 5 years or 60,000, then it's going to get lit. Then I'll know how much everything costs. I'm not sure if I'll still be having it, of course. But it's a car that you can keep for a long haul. And yeah, basically those are the running costs that I can think about currently, because there's nothing much, there's nothing else you're spending. Another thing you're spending on is what? Car wash? Yeah, car wash, like where I wash a car of this size is like 90 rand or something. So plus tip or whatever, then you get to pay around 100 bucks. So yeah, so that's what's there. But I think I forgot to talk about the lights. You know, I see that it's getting dark now, and when it comes to the lights, guys, I complain. This is a serious complaint, and Haval needs to consider it. You know, when I'm driving this car at night, you know, I'll create a clip basically to just show you what's happening, where I can get out of the car and show you when parked how far these lights are, and also like when you're driving how far they are, like at night. It is something else, because when I'm thinking about it, it's like, hey, you can clearly see where this light's cut, eh? And even if there's someone in front of you, sometimes you really can't see it. Sometimes if the car is like, maybe I can't even measure, man. I'll just show you on the clip to say this is how it is. It's not that far, and if you're not used to it, it's shocking. When you put on the bright, of course, the high beams and so on, everything, then it's fine. But when you put it down on normal, hey, regardless of you putting on the fog lights and so on, it's just not enough. These LEDs are not enough. I think they were trying to protect this thing of, like, you know, getting into other drivers' eyes. I forgot the word for that. Is it dazzling? Is it this Englishman? You get me though. You get me, right? I know you do. So that's one thing that I think you really need to be aware of. And for me, it's a no. These lights are just not enough. And for someone like me who's wearing spectacles, you can imagine what I feel sometimes when it comes to those lights. But yeah, it's that. And what did I miss? What did I miss? What is bothering me? This is the old H2. Oh, the 308 looks so nice. Now, you see, now I don't even know what I missed. I'm starting to even look at other cars now. I'm trying to think, what did I miss? What did I don't think I missed anything, guys. If there's anything that I missed, I think I'm gonna do it in the comments, or if you need me to add something in the description. Oh, the brakes. That's something that I missed, the brakes. I complained about the brakes earlier, like during the 6 months, because they were already squeaking at the time. And I was asking myself to say, what is there anything wrong with this thing? But went to check them. It's just that they were new, and you know when the brakes are new, sometimes it gives you this thing of, what is this? There's a dust, obviously, that's going to come from the disc and the pads. Then when they accumulate, they're going to start making noise on the tires. Then once you clean them up, maybe with a compressor at the petrol station, or you just use water, it gets fine. It's okay. It gets okay, and then it's no longer going to be squeaking, and they are holding just fine. Let me just show you now. They are holding. I'm starting to brake. Okay, they are holding just fine. I can't complain. In the beginning, though, you can feel that they're still new because they are not holding as tight, eh? And that's one thing that you need to understand about new cars. There's some stuff that works better as you go on with the car, and then it gets used to your driving style, it gets used to being on the road, and so on and so on. Then that's it. Oh, another thing that I forgot as well is this car. I see now when I'm trying to block the smoke in the car in front of me, that another thing I forgot actually is when in this car, and your aircon is on, like any other car, this car is gonna feel so weak. When the aircon is on, especially in the morning. But you know, in the morning, you can't really blame the car in the morning and so on. But for me, I think I can, because I expected better. I don't know why I expected that, but it's like with my Ford Fiesta, once you put the aircon on, it's like the second gear is almost dead, especially when you're starting the car and you're moving. It's the same thing in the morning. Even if you don't have an aircon on, I can say in the morning when you're starting this car, if you start it and go, it's gonna feel so heavy. It's like you're pulling brakes. Like, what is this? No. Why am I saying brake? It's like you're pulling brakes when you're driving this car. Okay, I don't even know how to say it, but if you just start it and go, you're going to wait for it to get warm before you can really get the best out of it. By the best, I mean the best performance out of it. So don't expect miracles when you just start it and go in the morning. And another thing that I also forgot to mention is this automatic. This automatic is like the original automatics. You know, I used to say it reminds me of a Toyota Cressida. You know, when you get into shift, like into gear, sometimes you can feel the kick. The car is like, it's jumping a bit. It's like jumping, and it can scare you, thinking, you know what, I'm ruining this car. I didn't step on the brake properly. But it's like those old automatics when it comes to that. I'm glad that they're doing now the 7-speed DCTs that they're putting in their new cars. It's there in the H6, is there in the Jolion as well, and those ones are smooth shifters. Of course, when you're shifting, it doesn't feel like you're shifting much. But this one is still the old one. I don't have a problem with it, the way it changes and so on when you're driving. It still feels like you're driving a car, and that's something that I like as well. But just be aware of the kick. It's not nice sometimes. Sometimes it's scary. You might think that you're killing the car and so on. So just be aware of that. And when it comes to that, I complained as well to Haval. I said, no, something is wrong with this car when I'm trying to put it into gear and so on. And they just said, no, you know how it goes with automatic. Sometimes you need to let it just idle a bit in the morning so that you can be able to get, to get it going. Then it's going to be easy to shift. So sometimes you experience it during the day. Sometimes you experience it even in the morning. And mostly it's in the morning though. But otherwise, I think I covered everything. I think I covered everything really. I don't think there's anything I missed that worried me. Oh, I need to tell you, because I needed to also do a reflection to say, okay, you know, I'm starting to think in hindsight, if I was to buy, if I was looking for an SUV, would I really buy this car in hindsight? And I had to think long and hard. And unfortunately, no, I wouldn't buy this car. And let me explain that. Compared to the competition in the market, I think this is still one of the most solid machines you're going to find out there at this price range. I mean, right now you're gonna get it for like what? For like $355. And when I'm thinking about that, I'm like, when I'm looking at the competition, it's probably one of the best you can still buy, especially with the features that it comes with. Like I said, I've already covered all the features and so on. But the reason I wouldn't buy it is because of the Jolion, not because of the competition outside the brand. Inside the brand, the Jolion, that's the reason why I wouldn't buy this car. I mean, the Jolion Lux to Lux, this Lux right now you get for $355, and the Jolion you get it for like what, $367, I think, which is like less than 15 grand more. I mean, the Jolion is an improved product of this. I said this when I reviewed the Jolion as well, even the way it drives, the features, the design inside the cabin and so on. So I wouldn't buy this. I would definitely get the Jolion, but I shouldn't discredit the fact that it's not everyone who would necessarily afford to get to the 367. And in that case, I would then say, if you can't afford the Jolion Lux, then it's fine, because it's going to add like what? If it's 15,000 over 5 years or so, you're probably going to pay 1,000 with interest, depending on how much your interest is per month. And that can mean the difference between your petrol for the month. Extra 1,000 is a lot of money actually, if you can think about it. So in that case, then you can still get the H2, because it's still a very much solid vehicle. With that, actually, I'm thinking, you know, there's a research that I've done on this, which is to check actually the whole thing of, if I was then to get a second-hand 2020 model of this car, how much am I going to pay, the value retention and so on. So the one thing that I checked first was to go to like famous platforms. I went to cars.co.za, I went to Auto Trader, and I went to We Buy Cars as well, to check how much is a 2020 Haval H2 Lux, like with like almost 23,000 kilometers or 20,000 or so. And you're going to get it for more than 300,000 rands. Let me be clear on that. So the value retention, I'm impressed, because looking at the average on the websites, I think We Buy Cars was the one with the lowest with 300,000. And I'm thinking to myself that if you got it for 330, especially if you bought it before April last year, you lost like only around 8% of the value. I mean, that's quite impressive actually when I'm thinking about it. But you need to remember that is the retail value. So for someone to buy something from you, they're buying it for market value. That's something that you need to always remember, especially if you are to get into an accident and write the car off and you insured it at market value. The insurance company is going to give you the money based on what the dealership would buy the car from you. But if you actually insure it on retail, it's going to give you, I think something is happening to my machine there. Okay, I hope we are still on here. So if you insure on retail value, right, it's going to be based on the money that the dealer was gonna sell the car at. So that is a higher value basically. So regardless of that, it's still quite impressive how much value you're getting with this car after a year. I think in the market it's probably one of the best. So that is one impressive thing that I think you need to consider, because a lot of people are worried about, what am I gonna get, after sales, if I was to sell this car, because a lot of people are not buying it. Haval is pushing quite a lot, and when I'm thinking about it, I also checked on those platforms that I spoke about, and believe me, hey, when it comes to the H2, since 2017, on these platforms that I spoke about, you only going to get 216 second-hand Haval H2s. If you're looking for the 2020 models, you're only going to get less than 80 of them, in the whole country. So you need to understand, people are not selling their H2s currently, regardless of the new Jolion and so on. And that's one thing that I think for me should be a convincing manner, and that's one thing for me I think should be convincing to someone who wants to buy this car, because the whole country, this H2 is one of the best selling vehicles in the country right now. It's pushing around like 700 units. I think it was pushing that last year. With the introduction of the Jolion, I would imagine that it went down, of course, but that's one thing for sure that you're going to consider whenever you're buying the H2 or anything Haval. And I think right now for sure I covered everything. I'm sure now. So, okay, I'm not that sure. I will also just read the comments and be sure then that I cover everything else that I need to cover in the comments, and then we talk about it. But with that said, I'm just finalizing the journey now, and thank you very much for watching. I truly appreciate you coming here and being with me. If you have been with me throughout this journey, it's a lot, and I truly appreciate it. Thank you very much for watching. We will just be engaging in the comments and look out for more content from me. Thank you very much for watching. I am out.